So I work at a tutoring center, and I have one student, a 13-year-old girl who some of her classmates were making fun of her about how she doesn't have a boyfriend, and she's like the only one amongst their circle. And I can tell from knowing her for 3-4 months now that that's one of the top priorities in her life. Whether for good or for bad, it's not her top priority, and I know that. And so in front of her and her friends, I said, if it makes you feel better, I have 8 billion partners, and I like it because this Friday night, I don't have to listen to any of them. I could do whatever I want, right? And I'll get to know some of those 8 billion a little bit better, right? And she quickly understood that. Now, what's really nice is that when we're young, we quickly adapt to these concepts, right? Many years ago, when LGBTQ was popular, it was the younger people who were most malleable to it, right? Once you get older, we tend to lose some of that skill for whatever reason. Now, what's really sad is that a lot of times young kids can understand this, but the world seems to revolve around prejudice like this, right? So I was reading an article about how many homes are being torn down, and that's why housing prices are sky high. But they missed a very important concept. A lot of housing is revolved around the concept of two people being together, right? And so, for example, try this. Try to book an Airbnb in Wallace, Idaho. Now, when you click on Airbnb, it will default to having 2 guests. Now, you got to select 1 guest, and then other things will open up, right? And I emailed Airbnb. I was very upset about this. I mean, they do have options for you to select 1, but they default to 2, even if you've used Airbnb before, right? So Airbnb is basically saying that even if you're happily single or solosexual today, that may change, right? They have the guts to say that for whatever reason, right? So I was looking at an Airbnb a couple years ago, and I ran into this problem. When I clicked 1 guest, so many other options opened up, and I remember thinking I felt sorry for all those hosts because they were hosting a room for 1, and a lot of people probably missed it because they forgot to change the setting on their Airbnb. And so how does that relate to the housing shortage? Well, I live in Seattle, Washington, and I wish I could rent a studio apartment that was about half the size of what other people would look for, right? Well, when I tell people that, people ask me, well, what if you want to bring somebody over? I gotta point something out. A lot of apartments frown upon bringing a date over to begin with, right? So at the same time that they're assuming that you're supposed to meet somebody, they disallow it, but they want the money from it, right? It's just kind of weird anyway. But I think that's going to be a big problem over the next decades because millennials are increasingly more solosexual than baby boomers, and why don't we get a head start at that, right?